Garrett, I figured this would be best for you and me to do again, considering that yesterday I did the full mock draft, of which I would like to say I got about 9 picks exactly right. But because there wasn't a trade until later, it threw the whole thing off. I got the first 4 right. I got the 9th pick right. I think I got the 7th pick right. I did okay in the top 10. Like, my percentages of the top 10 were pretty good. After that, like, I was a mess. I was a ridiculous mess. But so was everybody. Last night was really pretty kind of unpredictable the way things went down. Like, especially, you know, when you look at
Falcons.
Yeah, the Falcons. That's the thing that kind of threw the whole thing off for me.
Yeah, stuff got weird after that.
Yeah, stuff started getting weird. I mean, Bo Nix at 12. You know, because the Broncos didn't draft again until 76, so there's a lot of things. But here are the top 5 teams who owned the first round last night. Number 5, the Vikings. They did not have to trade all the way up to 4 or 5. They did trade up to 10 just to make sure that I believe they stayed ahead of the Broncos and got J.J. McCarthy. But they got the quarterback they seemed to have wanted the whole time, or at least one of the 2 that they knew that they liked and wanted. And J.J. McCarthy steps into a situation where he, you know, has a lot of weapons around him already with Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and, of course, T.J. Hawkinson. He'll have Aaron Jones back there at least for a year. So those are good things for him, but he's got to hit the ground running. But I think the Vikings did really well. And then at 23, getting Dallas Turner, who you see on the screen there, really, really not my favorite pass rusher in the draft, but I am very biased.
Yes, you are.
But I do. But, like, here's the thing. I think between him and Jared First and Latu,
you weren't going wrong.
I don't think you were going wrong. I think Latu's health concerns or something. But outside of that, I think you were doing okay no matter what you did. So I really liked that pick. I love what the Jaguars did here at number 4. They traded back with the Vikings. The pick that the Vikings used to take Dallas Turner was the Jaguars pick. And then not only did they pick up more picks, they got the guy they were going to take anyway in Brian Thomas Jr., who fills that Calvin Ridley role that they're going to need and gives a really nice young weapon for Trevor Lawrence. They do need to shore up a lot of things on defense. They need to be better in the running game. There's a lot that they have to do based on last year. But I do like what they're doing. Like, go get a weapon to go with the other things that you have there in Jacksonville for Trevor Lawrence. And, of course, you're a big Brian Thomas Jr. fan anyway.
Well, see, I was so nervous yesterday when we were doing the top 5, and we got to the Broncos, and we were looking at possibly him going there.
That's where I had him.
Nightmare situation. So putting him with Trevor Lawrence, I think is good. Also, you have ETN in the backfield, so you have a good trifecta of young talent that you can build around on offense. Obviously, sure things up on defense, but it's a great landing spot for Brian Thomas right there in Jacksonville.
Number 3, the Cardinals. They had picks at 4 and 27. Look, they stayed put and just took Marvin Harrison Jr.
Right.
And for a team that doesn't necessarily have the best history when it comes to making smart draft moves, like sometimes, look, yeah, maybe you get a player, maybe you trade back and you get Rome Odunze, who I think is going to be just as good. But this is a true number 1 wide receiver that you haven't really had for Kyler Murray the entire time he's been there because of, you know, how up and down it was with DeAndre Hopkins. And then, you know, Hollywood Brown was just his buddy. That didn't work out. This is someone who steps in and is a ready-to-go pro wide receiver pretty much right off the bat. I mean, obviously there's going to be some growing pains, but he should be good really, really right away. He comes from what is now wide receiver U, the way they've been spitting people out. And then getting Darius Robinson, a guy I thought might fall into the second round, but a really good pass rusher. So 2 needs, 2 really excellent players, especially at the spots that they got them. So they got value all the way down. Number 2, and I hate this, Garrett. I hate to keep putting them on the list.
I know.
But here's the Falcons did the Eagles the best favor in the world.
Yes.
Because that's what I thought the Falcons were going to do was take Quinyon Mitchell or Terrion Arnold. I saw Ross Tucker, who was on the show, I saw him do a bit on this. He's like, look, so we knew that the Eagles probably wanted to take a cornerback first because that's their most glaring area of need. And then if it got to them, like, would we even know who they liked better if one of them went off the board first? Well, neither of them went off the board until 22 when the Eagles picked. And so they got to pick the guy that they liked the most for the position of biggest need in Quinyon Mitchell. And then now they've got 2 picks in the 50s tonight. And you know,
Well, I also think they benefited by the massive run on offensive talent there.
Yeah.
I mean, they just were able to sit back and wait, and it unfolded perfectly for them. If you look right now, I mean, they are, to me, they are light years ahead of everybody else in the NFC East. It's scary, but to me, they're also like trying to play catch up with the 49ers and everything there. No, they have a lot of talent. They're a fun team. It just sucks that they're in the NFC East with our favorite teams as well.
yeah. I mean, they're just so well run.
Yes,
I
they
mean,
are.
They just are. And they signed A.J. Brown to an extension last night.
How you feel about that?
Further throwing C.D. Lamb's contract up into the.
I love it.
I'm mad about that. I'm just mad about it.
I
I'm mad
enjoyed
that they
it.
went and got him in the first place. And then, like, here's the thing: the A.J. Brown, Amari Cooper, Hollywood Brown, all those trades that happened. Like, the Cowboys got less for Amari Cooper than, A.J. Brown, like all these, like it was all bad.
Yes.
All bad. Like the last couple years, just everything going on around them. People like, oh, well, we'll get A.J. Brown, who I'd rather have than either of those guys.
Yep.
And then A.J. Brown's in the division. And then you're not even like, hey, the Titans want to trade A.J. Brown. Let's see why they'd want to do such a stupid thing. Let's go get him. And, like, you have A.J. Brown and C.D. Lamb. And then, like, then it's really on Dak. Like, then you can genuinely say it's on Dak as opposed to, like, oh, no, we have Michael Gallup. We're fine.
Right. I think that goes for the Cardinals, honestly, going back to Marvin Harrison Jr. You're going to find out a lot about Kyler Murray.
Yeah. Now that you're, like, you have to take away all the excuses. I think when you have a quarterback – I think the Titans need to do this with Will Levis, although I don't think he's going to last very long as the starter there. But they need to take away every excuse. Like, well, like that's the Cowboys have never quite done with Dak.
Right.
Because it's like, well, he doesn't do this. Well, you didn't have a good running game. Well, he didn't do that. Well, you didn't have good receivers. Or you know, your whole offense was built on, Zeke and Tony Pollard and CeeDee Lamb. And when one of those guys is ineffective, one of those guys breaks his leg, and then the other one is the only thing you have, like, oh, is it all Dak's fault? No. I mean, like the Eagles have set themselves up to where they have bailouts on everything. And they do. And plus they have Saquon Barkley now too. Number one, and this is the only thing I'll be able to say in this draft about the Bears.
Yep.
But getting the quarterback everybody knew was going to draft and who was the best quarterback available in Caleb Williams. And then just sitting at 9 and waiting for everybody else. For Rome Odunze to still be there at 9 just shocked me.
Yes.
Because I thought somebody would be like, oh, I thought the Titans at 7 would take him. I thought the Falcons at 8 would take him.
I think that's where I got skewed.
And then it's like they took the guy who threw all those passes to him, but the Bears being able to go, okay, getting Caleb Williams and then Rome Odunze. So now, what have you done on offense for the Bears? You've built your lineup a little bit. They probably still need to do a little work there, but you've got a running back in DeAndre Swift and then a backup in Roshan Johnson, who's both very effective. You went and traded for Keenan Allen. You've already got DJ Moore. Both those guys are, number one quality wide receivers. Roma, dude, you have 3 guys who are probably eventually, number one type receivers with Roma Dunze. And then you've got a gigantic athletic tight end in Cole Kmet. So now go to work on defense, do whatever you can on that side of the ball. And you should start seeing dividends pretty quickly because you've given Caleb Williams a lot to protect him in the first year and then build towards. So, yeah, I loved the Bears. This has not happened very much for a team. They're a very moribund franchise.
They are.
As a matter of fact, I will go out on a limb and say Caleb Williams is the best quarterback they've ever drafted at this point. Like, they've...
Yeah, honestly, yeah.
Now that doesn't mean his career is going to be fantastic.
I think he's got the most coming in.
But yeah, he's got
talent.
But he's got the most talent of any quarterback the Bears have ever drafted. And the last time the Bears had a quarterback that was one of the best in the league, his name was Sid Luckman, and they didn't have face masks. Since then, they've not had it. The best quarterbacks in the Bears history are guys like Jim McMahon for a year or two, Jay Cutler for a year or two. Rex Grossman was not that good. He just wasn't.
He had a defense.
He had the best season of his career. He was in the Trent Dilfer thing where don't screw this up. But then he got to the Super Bowl, and who was he playing? Peyton Manning. So there was the difference in that game. So the Bears finally have some good things to talk about and some excitement in the best sports city in America, in Chicago IL. And I couldn't be happier for him. I really couldn't. I think the Bears are one of those teams I feel bad for.
Right.
I know Jack doesn't feel that way because he's a Packers fan and hates them. But maybe one day the Packers won't own the Bears. Like Aaron Rodgers just transferred his ownership to Jordan Love. So we'll see. But there is the top 5 teams who own the first round. The second round's coming up pretty much right after I stop saying words.